joined by a special guest, the cameraman, aka my dad, and you might remember him in the end of the videos going. So, today we'll be making a nest and an ant nest for my ants, and my dad has already cut the pieces to make the nest, but he will still show you how he did it. But first, me and my dad are going to explain the pieces. So we've got 4 of
corner pieces for supporting the ant's nest.
4 of
These are the end pieces on top and bottom.
2 of
This is the front and back of the ant's nest.
some polyfill.
This will be used to fill the ant's nest and to make the various chambers.
Brown and white paint.
Used for painting the inside of the ant's nest.
And some plasticine.
This is what we use to make the imprints of where the chambers are going to be.
So now my dad will show you how he cut the things. Don't worry guys, I won't get hurt because I am going to put on some safety goggles first. And also, the cameraman in this will be me this time. So let's get on to it. My dad will also explain how he's doing it.
Okay, the first thing we need to do then is to measure out where we're going to do it, and as you can probably see, marking this will be quite difficult. So what I've done is I've roughly got it to the size that I want, of around about 20 centimetres, and then when I do that I'm going to lay some tape along it, and this will make it easier for me to see where I need to mark the 20 centimetres, and it also helps prevent splinters from the plastic sheet when you're cutting it. So I'll just mark this out and then we'll be straight back. Okay, I've set it up as so we're ready to go. I've marked the line out here, and as you can see it's much easier to see it with the tape down, so it makes it easier to see the line. What I've also done is put 2 guides for the saw, just so I can keep it in a straight line. The saw that I'm using is this one here. I've set it so that it only just covers the width of the plastic, and it's got a wood piece inside it, or a wood cutter. I found that works better than the metal one. So what we'll do now is we'll just demonstrate how I do this.
Warning, this may be loud. Warning, do not smell the screen.
Okay, and there we are. You can see a nice easy cut, and worked fine.
Ow. Right, so we are ready to
Start assembling the ant's nest.
So, firstly, we've got this special stuff called resin, and this you squeeze out. It comes in 2 parts, and it's really quick in setting, 5 minutes. So let's squeeze. My dad's told me that we don't need a lot. I can't get it out, so my dad's going to have to do it. I don't know how that's not meant. There we go, it's coming out. Why is it not coming out? So now that we're getting resin, we are almost ready to start.
So the resin needs mixing.
So let's do that. Mix, 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 mix. As you can see, it's getting whiter, which is meaning that it's turning into glue.
But it will set clear.
Mix, mix,
what we need to do now is just roughen up the edges of the plastic bits to help the resin set, and I'm just using a bit of sandpaper to do that. Now we'll fit the first bit in. Just take some of the resin,
slop it on,
spread it over the plastic bit,
and stick it on. So yeah, whilst my dad's slopping the resin on, I'll get the bit that we need. I'll get the bits that we need. So now that I've got the bits that we need, you might not see them, but they're here, they're pretty shiny, and here. Actually pretty nice looking. So, that
right
is
then Jack,
what
if you could, let me just move the resin
I'll
out of the
do.
way. I'll move this over to here, because I've got sticky hands, so if you could lift that up and place it onto there.
Okay, so now we're just sticking it on, and I need to be very steady in it.
Push down.
And push, push, push. So as you can see now, it's stuck on, and in 5 minutes that should dry, which might be a problem because all of the resin should dry. So we need to be pretty fast and act fast. So that's what we need to do. So now we've got a weight to keep it down so it doesn't flop up or something, or things like that. So now we've got that, we can move on. So now that we've got that on its way, we will be back when it's dried and ready. Or maybe not dried. Okay, so we've sorted this out, we're now waiting for it to dry. And once it's dry, my dad will be finishing it off with you guys. So yeah.
The frame for the ant's nest is now completed. You'll probably gather that Jack's left us. So I'm cracking on my own at the moment. We've got the main bit here, and then this final section here, which I will fit once we've put the inside bit in. What I have done is I've put around the edges, I've put some silicone sealant around the edges here and up the sides, because there were some slight gaps between the joins of the plastic pieces. I guess I didn't cut them quite straight enough, and in addition these bits here I've pushed the sides in slightly, which sort of helps with the connection when I try the top, but also means that the connections around the side here, or the edges around the side here, don't quite connect correctly. I think if I was to do this again, I probably wouldn't put the side bits on and just perhaps put another strengthener across there with some holes in it to allow the tunnel structure to move from one side to the other. Just here I've got the main connection port for the tubing that will connect the nest to any outworld, and down here I've got another small hole. The intention is to put a small bit of sponge in the base here, not connected to the rest of the nest, and this will allow us there to put some water, or to pipette some water into the main hole. It's become apparent when we do the final, when we've completed it, you'll be able to see what I mean by that. It's now going to be time to start laying the first layer of polyfiller once the sealant is dried. Well, I've made up some polyfiller. I've made it a bit more runnier than normal, and I'm hoping what this will mean is that it will spread out quite evenly over the base of it. I expect I'm going to need to make some more of it. It will take a little bit longer to set, but I'm hoping it still will set quite hard. So let's give this a go. So I think I'm going to need to make up a fair bit more of it. Let's just spread that out a little bit. I'll make some more up, and I'll be back once I've filled the whole base. Well, here we are. We've now completed the bottom layer, so the first layer. We now need to wait for this to set. I expect it will take a little while because it is still quite runny, and we made it much more runnier than it suggested we should do on the packet, but that enabled us to get it into all the corners. There are a few bubbles on there. They shouldn't matter if they stay there. In fact, it may give the polyfiller a bit of extra texture. We now need to wait for this to set fully. I'm hoping it doesn't shrink too much, particularly around the edges. I don't mind if it shrinks down a bit, but particularly around the edges, so we don't really want a gap around the edges. There doesn't appear to be any leaks, so the sealant seems to have worked. While we're waiting for it to set, I'll hand you over to Jack and he'll give you an update on where we are with his Lasius Niger Queen, Queen Elizabeth.
Right, so we're just going to be moving the Queen over to another shed because you've told us, yes, you guys have told us that in our shed it's a bit too warm. So let's go. Right, so now we're just going to be moving over to where the shed that we're going to put her in. Now, don't mind that somebody else is holding the camera, it's just that I wanted to hold the camera. No, wait, what? There's only two people. But, yeah. So this is where we are going to put her. These are Dad. It's in the shed with all the buttery guards. Good shot of that buttery guard.
There's the temperature.
And as you can see that it will only be at 6, no matter what.
Well, as you can see, the mouldings for the ant's nest are in, and we're starting to approach the end of filling the main nest with the polyfiller. We've done most of the area up here. It's still a little bit tacky. I did this yesterday, but it was one of the main fills yesterday, so it was quite a hefty amount of polyfiller going in there, so I did expect it to take a while to dry. What I intend to do now is to fill it to the very brim around here, and I'm hoping that what that means is once I take the mouldings out, probably tomorrow, and clean them a little bit and do some final touching up, perhaps with the router to make sure the various bits of the nest are joined, that when I place the top on there will be quite a good seal. I'm still yet to work out how I'm going to make sure the final seal is. What I really don't want is for there to be gaps, say, between there and the ants to try and find a route through, whilst that isn't going to be too bad for the ants' point of view. In terms of the look, I expect it will be a little bit, not quite such a good look if they're moving around, not using the intended routes or the routes that I've intended for them. I don't suppose that will matter too much. One of the things I would say is that if I was to do this again, I've already mentioned some of the changes I'd make. I think I'd make it much less deep, so I think I'd half the depth for it. I'll show you that in just a second. I'll show you that in just a second. It's quite deep at the moment, and therefore it's taken quite a while to fill, and also some of these bits have had to be quite deep as well, which has meant it's taken much longer than I expected it to. So I'll come on to that in a second, but for the time being I'll just carry on filling the final bits and pieces. Some of this may move, as you can see it's probably a little bit loose. In case you're wondering what this is, I ran out of plasticine and I've had to use some flower arranging felt that I had left over from previously. So let's just carry on filling. I made this quite a bit thicker than the remainder, just as I hope that it will, once I've got through, I'll start to move it. Right, I'll just sort this out and then I'll be back. Well, there we are. I've now got it roughly filled to the top. What I'm going to do now is to leave this to set, and I'm hoping it'll even itself out a little bit more. There's still a little bit around here that where it's a bit higher. I'm not too worried about it being too high, because what I tend to do is to sand it down once I've finished to try and get it level all around, and that may help with the final fitting of the top. So I'm going to leave it now for probably another 12 to 24 hours just to do the final set, and then we'll start to remove some of the bits. and clear it out, and I'll be back once I've done that and we're ready to start painting. So we've now taken the plasticine out. Some of the plaster's come away at the same time, which I'm not too worried about. It actually doesn't look too bad with the way it looks like that. Some of the chambers are probably a little bit too big, but still we'll have a look at how that looks like. What I've got to do now is clearly take some of the top off of here, so I'm going to sand it down. Once I've sanded it, I'm then going to paint the inside bits here white and the rest of it brown. I might mix a bit of brown and white in there, making it lighter. This here, I then need to put some sponge in here because this is where the water bit's going to go. And then I will need to refit the top and see if that fits and what the seal is like. I'm still unsure about how I'm going to seal the final top, but I'll have a look at that. So once I finish sanding it down and painting it, we'll be back. So this is it finally finished. I shall now take it back and show Jack, and he'll make a decision as to whether it was a complete fail, just a fail, or not too bad. Like I say, if I was to do it again, I would make it much shallower. I would probably not use the side pieces, but I would put a bracing piece across the centre. The other thing that I would consider is how it was to be glued together, and I'm wondering if it would be better if we used the stuff that they use in fish tanks. So if you have any experience of using that, or an alternative way of joining the plastic together, please let me know, leave a comment. Thank you.
So my dad's finished doing the ant's nest. I've got it next to me, that's why I went like that. So yeah, let me just show it to you. I personally, I do not think it was a fail. Here it is right now. Personally, I don't think it's a fail. But tell us in the comments whether you like it, what do you think about it? I really liked it. I like everything about it, to be honest. Again, I'm going to show you it again. You guys also told us in the last video to put her in the thing, and earlier on you saw her go. You saw her go in. You saw her get put into hibernation, and well, this is being shot a few days later, and she's just blank, my dad told me. So put in the comments whether you think that is hibernating, or me and my dad don't think that's not hibernating. Don't think that's her dead, but if you do know more about it, and if being like that is dead, then please tell us, and yeah.